Hello and welcome to the V-Ray for SketchUp series. In this episode, we'll finish our evening shot by using the powerful capabilities of the VFB. In the previous episode, we managed to light our entire exterior. We did that by highlighting our environment with different types of artificial lights. Before we start today's tutorial, I want to highlight that you can find the scene we're working on for download in the video description below, together with the scene assets. Grab them for free so you can practice at your own pace. When we feel like we're done lighting our shot, we can head to the VFB and start adding the finishing touches. But before we do that, let's add some render elements that will help us in compositing our final image. In the Render Element tab, I will add the Back to Beauty render element. This render element is a combination of elements. Instead of manually adding reflection, refraction, and other commonly used elements, we can simply just add Back to Beauty and we will have access to all of them. Later on in the compositing part of the video, we will use some of them to enhance our image. Next, we'll add a V-Ray Cryptomatte render element. The Cryptomatte element allows you to create masks for objects in your scene, which you can pick based on these different options. You can pick whichever you'd like. I'll choose the material name option. Now let's open the lighting tab and add a white color to all of the lamps in our scene. If we want to use V-Ray Light Mix to change the colors of our light sources, it's best to give them a white color. That's because the color in the Light Mix menu is not overriding the color in our scene, but instead it's multiplying them. Now it's time to render our final image. When we have our final image, we'll head to the Light Mix tab. The first thing we're going to do is prioritize the intensities of our light. Our main focus should be the house, so the lamps on the inside of the house should be the brightest. We want the lights in the foreground to be bright, but not to the point at which they take too much attention from our house. The rest of the lights should be just an accent to the overall lighting, so they will be less brighter than those in the foreground. Now it's time for the colors. As mentioned in earlier episodes, we'll use the Kelvin scale. For the interior lamps, our range will be from 2700 to 3000 kelvins. For the outdoor lamps, we'll use cooler tones, around 3000 to 5000 kelvins. When you're done mixing your lights, you can use the 2 scene option, which will automatically transfer the color and intensity of your light mix lights to the original lights in your scene. I will not do this at this point, as we're still in the process of compositing our image. Next up is the color correcting. In the previous episode, we explored different types of color correction options and how they work. If you want to see that process, you can watch the VFB tutorial video from the V-Ray for SketchUp tutorial series playlist to the right. If you're not sure that you're going in the right direction, but you want to preserve your progress, you can save the color corrections and light mix corrections as a preset. Now you can start over and create a new version of your exterior. Later on, you can head to this option here and preview them. To set different layer presets, you will need to go to Options, Layer, and then add a preset folder. This way, we will have a variety of options to choose from. And that is exactly what you need in order to create the best version of your image. Now let me show you how you can use the V-Ray Cryptomatte to change the appearance of your object without the need of re-rendering the image. Note that in the layer tree, each layer affects another from top to bottom. If you want to add a layer that you don't want to be affected by color corrections, you should place it on top of your layer stack. I'll add a constant color correction. What this does, it adds a flat color that you can change from the color swatch here. Based on the blending option, you can enhance certain parts of your image, but we're going to use it in a different way. Let's right-click the constant and go to New Layer. We're going to add a Cryptomatte mask here. By selecting the picker, you can pick anywhere in the scene and you'll see the different material names. When we click, the material will pop in the items list. Now you can preview the mask you have created by clicking on the Show Preview when selected. You can also invert the mask to select everything except the items you have selected. We'll repeat the same process, but with the exposure correction to increase the brightness of the pillows. When you're happy with your corrections, you're ready for compositing. If you want to have access to your light sources while compositing, you should click the To Composite button. You can find all of them in the Light Mix folder. Now let's create a new folder and call it Glass. When selected, we're going to add a render element. Thanks to the previously added Back to Beauty render element, we can see all the common render elements. What I want to do with these elements is to enhance certain parts of my materials. For example, the glass of our house. The main properties of glass are reflection and refraction. If the windows are more reflective, the blue night sky will stand out more and will add a nice contrast to the warm orange colors in the interior. we're going to create a mask for the glass material and increase the multiplier of the specular element. Next, let's change the amount of fog we have in the scene. We can do that by adding an atmospheric render element. I personally feel like we need more fog in order to get the feeling that we're in a Scandinavian environment, where most of the time the weather is very foggy. Note that when you're adding an atmospheric render element, it adds a new one on top of the already existing atmosphere, so you have to balance it based on your scene. So let's change the multiplier and add a bluish color. And there it is, our finished night exterior. Thanks to the powerful capabilities of the VFB, we managed to completely transform our image without the need of using other types of post-processing software. In the next episode, I will show you how to properly set your interior lighting, and then we'll take a look at some time-saving material properties. I hope you found this tutorial helpful and that you will apply some of these tips in your next project. Thank you for being part of the V-Ray experience.